put an already vulnerable population in significantly more danger. All evidence, as we'll discuss, shows camping bans and criminalization do not resolve the crisis or circumstances which new people come under.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who mentioned the 60 miles, as I know someone's taken an Uber recently, but even a 10-mile Uber could be up to $40. So that adds up very quickly. I heard a lot mentioned about housing from the mayor earlier. Don't see anything about housing in this ordinance bill, so I don't see how any of that's relevant. As far as community impact unit goes, I'm not sure, but you might want to manage that better. I've heard nothing but bad things. And as far as the trash goes, there are probably 30 bags of trash waiting where they said they would be picked up by DPW, still not picked up by DPW. I don't understand how the no camping ordinance is going to solve any of these problems or talking about it like this. So I think we should be focusing on everything that was mentioned by everyone earlier that isn't this no camping ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
The purpose of this ordinance is to promote public health and safety of Salem. The wording of this fails to take into account the dangerous and unsafe conditions of trying to survive outdoors without shelter. If the shelter system worked regularly as intended, we would not have one. The biggest threat to public safety is overdose deaths. Overdose deaths decrease when people live in groups and also makes it easier for emergency services to find people during an emergency. This ordinance will police residents in the hope of harm, detention, preventable death. If we want to actually implement public health improvements in substance use, we should provide really low threshold housing decoupled from shelter, variety, community-based harm reduction, including overdose prevention centers, and evidence-based voluntary treatment on demand. This criminalization has been tried before and proven ineffective in other cities like Beverly, Boston, and Denver. Without addressing the underlying issues throughout the shelter system, this amendment questions residency on how have a right to self-determination or access to trash collection or even public restrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Chris Curry, the country. With the expectation to clean your campsite within 48 hours, the amendment states that during a period when shelter is unavailable, it is unlawful for any person to camp upon private property for more than 48 hours unless a zone for commercial recreational purpose. This is under no terms a policy that allows for the sweeping of campsites and the seizing of property of unknown people. The provision of 48 hours to clean up the campsite is particularly engaged, especially considering the amendment stipulates that there must be an offer to drop someone off at a shelter likely several miles from their campsite. How will they get back to clean it up? The solution to the health hazard of homelessness is not to ban tents, which creates even more dangerous conditions when people are forced to create the elements with no shelter, but to provide adequate housing. Thank you.
Currently, the cost of living in Salem is extreme and unrealistic for many residents. To quote the Housing MA Salem report, in Salem, 20% of households are low income. And with this, roughly 35% of Salem residents are cost burdened, according to the Salem Government Housing Assessment. This can be traced back to stagnant wages coinciding with dramatically increased rents and mortgages. According to the World Population Review, the average yearly income is roughly $59,000 in Salem. Current average rents are sitting around $2,800 for a rent cafe. It's frankly ridiculous to expect the average working class of God forbid poor Salem resident to not be significantly burdened by housing costs. When housing is unreliable, wages stagnant, and the prospect of extreme poverty itself becoming criminalized, as with this bill, the lives of Salem residents are put at risk. With this level of housing insecurity in our town, anti-homeless policies like the one proposed will have lasting effects not just on those currently unsheltered, but all of us and our low-income neighbors. No one in this room is immune to homelessness. Many are a paycheck away from being kept criminalized.
This ordinance allows not just fines, but arrests. General Law Part 1, GLC 40 S21, mentioned in the ordinance that it allows for fines up to $300. And General Law Part 1, GLC 272 S59, allows for making arrests without a warrant. The enforcement of this ordinance is extremely vague, and it can result in jail time or fines simply for the crime of having nowhere to go. If people do not have money for housing, how do you expect them to pay a $300 fine? And I've seen you sit up here and roll your eyes when people are talking. Instead of that, maybe you should look people in the eyes and tell them they are no longer welcome.
So this amendment inaccurately frames unhoused people who are surviving outdoors as shelter resistant, when in reality shelters are not available. Many shelters have policies or physical setup that exclude people who fall outside of the gender binary, who have physical disabilities, or people with substance use disorder. Other barriers to shelter include lack of stability in night shelters, mistreatment by staff, being barred without access to meaningful process, an institutional environment that is often described by clients as similar to jail. And the offering of existing shelter here is meaningless. It is often said that people living in tents choose to be here, but it's crucial to ask what options they are made to choose between. As the shelter system consistently fails and abuses compliance, housing waitlists grow to decades long and hotels become prohibitively expensive. The choice to sleep in a tent becomes a choice between improvised shelter or women unhoused in Salem as recently as last year have been asked to choose between returning to the shelter if they were sexually assaulted or sleeping outdoors in a tent. This ordinance demands that the specific people most failed by the shelter system return to it with no alternative. Until there is a safe, reasonable alternative provided, your personal choice is never lose causing.
I'm going to talk about the storage property. The clause seems okay at first glance, but it's not. Storage is a major issue for members of the unhoused community, especially those living in shelters who often have a limit for how many belongings they're allowed to own. And this clause only applies to what someone can clean up within 48 hours, which is a small amount of time to clean up and coordinate a move when you have no money to do that. And then you're potentially 15 miles away from all your stuff. So no one wants to be 15 miles away from their stuff and you have no grant, and then also, this provision of sending someone 15 miles expects them to make frequent trips back and forth to Salem without any means of doing so, and also means of transporting their property when it isn't something that can just carry on public transportation.
Hello. So sweeps are violent and traumatizing, and the impact of sweeps, and we're going to talk about the impact of sweeps on unhoused people. Encampment sweeps are violent, counterproductive, and expensive. Displacing encampments are harmful to the unhoused community. A Journal of American Medical Association study shows that sweeps have been found to lead to substantial increases in overdose deaths, hospitalizations, and life-threatening infections, as well as hinder access to medication. For opioid use disorder, along with other detrimental impacts, sweeps cause people to lose essential and valuable items that cannot always be replaced and rip people from jobs, vital records like driver's license and social security cards, life-saving medications, and long-term housing opportunities when people are displaced
from their support system, we will lose contact with them and their access to essential service, and that is why I'm against this amendment to chapter 24. Thank you.
It's like it's the text as it stands. It's very sophisticated. But the section also sound and language and use identified policies at its core. This amendment school is to give the city the right to forcibly displace people who have nowhere else to go, seize their belongings, and put their lives at risk. By disallowing camping within city limits, we are saying that we prefer to push the issue to a different town or see someone freeze unsheltered on our sidewalks. As citizens, we should be outraged that the City Hall would consider passing such an unreasonable amendment and would risk the lives of our most valuable, vulnerable neighbors. This amendment cannot be allowed to pass until the voices of those affected by it have been taken into consideration and a new path forward has been found. I just encourage everyone here and just around the community to fail that we should view our neighbors with humility and compassion, and that we're not all above each other.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, council members, thank you very much. My name is Trent Cole, Senior. I'm the Director of Operations for Wendy's. I've been in and out of this Salem Wendy's for almost 20 years. So, and I want to commend police and Board of Health for helping us in the community, individuals who try to solve this very difficult situation. This ordinance, I think, although it has some opportunity to be better and sharper, I think it does. It's very humanitarian. It's trying to get a situation that's extremely difficult for people and trying to solve that problem. Now, obviously, as Wendy's, we're on Lafayette Street, right where this whole situation is happening. And for us, it's really a safety thing, and I think the police have talked a lot about that. But I do appreciate the help they've given and continue to support the council looking at this work. How do you make this work? It's really about finding people homes and how do you make that happen. So we're here to help. We like to support the best we possibly can, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Before we continue, just logistically, there's a lot of people in the hallway, I'm gonna call it. So before we move, sorry, to this side of the room, if there's someone in the hallway, step over to me.
My name is Alex Hampton, and I identify as a youth with lived experience of homelessness. As a youth, I was in shelter for 4 months and considered housing unstable for another 6 months after being homeless. I have both seen people in power taking advantage of their own privilege and experienced people in power telling me that being homeless is unsafe in the community. But let me tell you what is the real unsafe part. A person, no matter what age or how they identify, being tired every single day because they have no safe space to be in and have no access to being in proper resources like housing, food stamps, financial aid, or even anything simple such as access to a bathroom or a place to rest. Being homeless is one of the most mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausting experiences for any human being, and can possibly any human being can go through. And not only is kicking a community out of a space they feel safe in contributing to the issue, but so is the act of decision making without having proper knowledge and treating the population like they are not welcome here, just as much as tourists are welcome. One will the population who are dealing with homelessness will be welcomed with the amount of respect towards them. Thank you.
Alphonse Wright, 12 Hancock Street. I think you all know me as Chair of the Human Rights Coalition here in Salem. We failed. As a nation, as a state, as a city, as a community, we have failed because we are here. This goes to not providing enough services. This goes to fighting against when services try to expand. This goes to fighting when services aren't perfect enough. There is no perfect solution. We have to take incremental action. And I don't care if it's in a damn backyard. I really don't. Because we do not have the right to shove people out of this community because they're an eyesore. Now, I understand that we need to make a corrective solution. This ordinance, it's close, but it's not it. As people said before, we need housing first. That's the now. We can work on this. We can do this, but we have to do it with the right intention. Any ordinance, any law is only as good as the humanity, the compassion, and the integrity of those enforcing it. So while everyone here may have good intentions, the next cycle of council, the next mayor may be able to use this as an abusive tool to criminalize and punish people who are housed. And for the record, for those who don't know, I have been in house twice, so I have a bit of a stake in this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rebecca DeFranco. I'm the general manager. My biggest concern is not to mention the safety of the encampment, but also the safety of the people in Salem, the people that come in there every day, and my employees. I've had employees quit. I've had employees with struggle in the bathroom. I have had employees do this. It's too much. It's just too much. It's too dangerous. And I hear a lot of times like I won't even park in the park because of everything that's going on. Because of that population that's back there inside of that, they're also building. It's too much to deal with the trash every single day, coming in and seeing different things out there. It needs to be taken care of. I want them taken care of, but I want us as a community, as our employees, as everybody just to.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dan Kupka. I don't have a prepared statement, but I can speak. Due to the fact that I've been homeless before, and I'm currently homeless and staying at the generosity of friends after having been priced out of my apartment significantly back a couple of years ago. I'm grateful to them, and I'm grateful to the community that has helped me continue to be a part of this community. And I continue to like to be a part of this community. I'm privileged to be a part of this community in the sense that I have the relationships I do. It should not matter if you do have a relationship or not as a human being. How do you solve the housing crisis? You build more homes. You give services to the people who need to, and you guide them toward that. You give them an incentive to be able to better themselves. And I'm lucky enough with my privileges to be able to maintain myself here. And I would like to give that, I would like to extend that to those who are not as fortunate as I am. And please don't criminalize people being homeless. I could have been that statistic. But again, luck and privilege came into play for me. We need to extend ourselves to them and to try to make it better. And yes, I get the unsafety that we need to mitigate that. However, we do that through extending help to the people that need it. So that's my not prepared statement. But thank you.
I'd like to consider the very real possibility that you find yourself without shelter in Salem for any reason. As soon as you find yourself in this situation, there's a bed within 15 miles of the city. Any attempt to protect yourself from weather, regardless of the season or the danger, will make you subject to these policies. Many people in Salem are really just one eviction notice away from being in this very situation. The poverty rate in Salem is nearly 14%, and Salem's median household and individual income is 18 and 9% less than the state average. But despite statistics that demonstrate the rate at which folks are financially struggling in Salem, rent is 170% before the national average. The weight of this housing crisis is being felt across our community, not just the currently unsheltered population. If you find yourself evicted and then add the risk of displacement up to 15 miles away, loss of community, belongings, and potential fines or arrest threats, when you're already living in poverty, I would ask you if you still support this ordinance that's being discussed today.
Hello, my name is Nathan. I live in Winston-Salem. The way the residents have been profiled as criminal in the language of this ordinance is, I think, emblematic of the intentions of this ordinance. We criminalize our neighbors as an excuse to ship them off out of sight without any thought of providing services, resources, or even a way to return from where they live and work. And also, if you don't want trash piling up, I suggest having the city pick up the trash like they do for every other person. I also hear a lot of flowery talk about housing people, but I don't hear any suggestions about how to permanently house people. I hear criminalization, and that is why I chose this ordinance. Thank you.
Every year that I've taught in the area, I've had more students out on both. And sheltering does not share I've had a student teaching the same shelter forced to shelter once, which is very well practice, was then forced to a shelter in Lowell, and was then forced to a shelter in Boston. And she's pregnant in this grade. She still has an ordinance. She's 17 years old. And I'm just wondering, if we go through this, how many people are we accepting to also be disappeared?
Hi, I'm a resident of Ward 3. In addition to the very wonderful comments that we've heard tonight, very powerful testimony, I want to add some additional questions for the council to consider before you take action on this ordinance. Prior to advancing an ordinance that creates a process for clearance, was consideration given to a managed encampment approach where sanitation and other services are offered? What outreach was done to the encampment in crafting this ordinance? There's a statement written by Shannon Donovan, who's a resident of the encampment, that was quoted in the Salem News, which suggests that people there are open for working with the city on the conditions there. How was the threshold of 24 hours to claim property established? Is that realistic? And a significant piece that a lot of people have touched on is the connection to long-term housing resources in this community, which the mayor acknowledged is still in process. Shelter can connect people with necessary services, but shelter is not a long-term solution. I know that the city is working on that, but while we are trying to transition people out of homeless, why are we trying to pass this ordinance now while that alternative is not immediately available? And then lastly, could we get clarity on how the Supreme Court hearing on Boise v. Martin creates an urgency for action? This is the same body that would be in a place to consider an ordinance at that time, so I'm not really clear of that connection. I recognize that there are valid concerns that people are trying to address in this ordinance, and I worry that we're taking critical steps out of order. We've seen other communities have successes and failures when it comes to municipal response to people experiencing homelessness, and we can avoid approaches like clearance, which create deeper harm and mistrust between people living in encampments and the services that might be helpful to them and the city. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lydia. We're talking about this as if the Life Bridge expansion has already been funded and approved and built, and like those beds already exist, and they frankly don't. And this council could be helping more with that, more on that. There's other things that council that want to directly address the bridge issue. Frankly, there's a ton of logistical problems with how this work is currently written that has been brought up by everyone in this room. I won't repeat them. This is a body who is very deliberative and does its research and should be doing that when you're putting together any ordinance. So I don't understand why we're spending this time working on something that is being clearly like rushed, right? There shouldn't be this many issues when it's being brought to this group when we have other things in front of this council that have taken forever to get any momentum and are a lot more research. And we're talking about them like they already have happened, and it will solve this problem. It really doesn't make sense to me, and I really have to focus on the other things on their plate that we all agree would actually address this problem better. Frankly, thank you.
Anyone else in the hallway? Okay. No? This side of the room.
I am here to urge you not to pass the camping ban. We're living through a housing shortage like nothing we've seen in our lifetimes, which has led to more people than ever living outdoors. It's understandable that we don't know the best course of action, but that doesn't mean we should jump to a solution we know is inhumane. Separating people from routines, belongings, and friends and acquaintances that give their lives predictability when they're already living in a precarious situation is cruel. Ultimately, we'll need multiple solutions, including emergency shelter, supportive housing, and deeply affordable housing. A sanctioned camping area would buy us time to work on permanent solutions. There are already mutual aid networks supporting unhoused people in Salem, and with a very limited input of basics like porta potties and trash cans, much of Salem's unhoused population could live safely with little expenditure required from the city. Please set aside the camping ban and consider a sanctioned campsite. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. My name is Farid Shakur, and I'm a Salem resident and a licensed clinical social worker who works with those living with PTSD and complex trauma. I have seen firsthand the irreversibly damaging and traumatizing effects of taking people out of their community and trying to force people into a broken shelter system. This is a much larger systemic issue. I regularly work with people who choose to stay outside in the freezing cold because it is safer every single time that a bed was offered. Removing the encampment is actively signing people up to further harm. I believe my government officials are here to serve the people, all of the people, not just the ones deemed worthy enough because of money or privilege or access to health and mental health services. I say this as someone who does hold privilege and power as a provider and a house person and safe. I couldn't stand back and not say anything because that goes against my professional values. I wonder as you hear people speak if it is in line with your values. The way that I hold hope is to stay trusting that maybe the ordinance existed as it is because those creating it don't know how this is further traumatizing and endangering our neighbors, your constituents. But I ask you to listen to the people, especially those with experiences of homelessness. Really listen. I trust that you are in the positions that you are in because you want to look out for all of your constituents. It is obvious to everyone here that work needs to be done to keep all of your residents safe, but this is not the answer. I am hearing very real solutions proposed. Thank you all.
Hi, my name is Amy Harris. I live in Salem, and I will speaking in support of this ordinance. I think the council put a lot of work into it, a lot of thought into it. I think it's really good first step to deal with the problem. I think the city's taking many other steps as well, and it doesn't help anybody living outside. I think an important part of this ordinance is that it can't be enforced unless there is housing. And what this ordinance is doing is pushing forward our housing. I know that Life Bridge is working very hard and is coming up, as I think Jason said, they're looking at a number of sites, and I think they're very close to at least 1 or 2 sites that will provide quite a bit of housing, emergency housing, and that is great. That's being pushed along by this working ordinance. So I'm very much in support of it, and I think we do know how in the papers to not try to keep pushing forward with housing, not try to get people sheltered, And even the people that are objecting to this ordinance, you know, really saying we want more housing. And this helps push that forward. As far as some of the permanent housing, I know the city would be very hard, a lot of much more affordable permanent housing. It's difficult because of interest rates and difficulty of financing, but I think the city is really pushing forward, and we're going to see a lot more of that in the next couple of years. So I would applaud the council for considering this piece of this bill, and hope we can pass it.
Hi, my name is Lieutenant Salem, and I applaud what Mayor Gallo and the city officials said about solving the problem of people living in campus. I'm also mindful of all the people in the whole set that it won't solve the entire problem of homelessness. But I find it refreshing and wonderful that the city council is taking a great first step towards working and providing the resources and energy to provide both roofs and services to the people in our community who most need them. And I hope that you'll follow through with both roofs and services and the support that you need to coordinate and give to these people and make sure that this and future solutions work. Thank you.
Greetings, those who Salem Chamber of Commerce, 265 Essex Street. And first of all, I want to thank the city and all of the departments and the people that are working to provide assistance, advice, and possible solutions to our fellow Salemites for any can. The Salem Chamber and the Salem Chamber membership has and have been supportive of the ultimate goal, and that is essentially getting people out of homelessness through making donations, providing meals, supporting non-profits, including libraries, students to do so. The new strategy and tools are needed. The South River encountered significant impacts its farming neighborhood, local businesses, their employees, and tourists. The economic toll on adjacent businesses, as vocalized in the meeting we organized last February, cannot be overstated. And I know that this is a will be in front of you, so I'll say a few things. Phrases like detrimental to our business, major loss of revenue in the second half of 2023, and concerns over potential closures if the status quo persists. I want to make sure you're aware of that. Furthermore, the parks along the river and the public walkway have essentially been rendered inaccessible for both residents, including Peabody Street residents, and residents and visitors. There is a real urgency, and we are encouraged that the City of Salem and its partners are diligently working towards crafting more appropriate shelter solutions. The passing of this ordinance, with the creation of a new temporary shelter and continued services and assistance, can lead to better outcomes and marks a pivotal step towards helping individuals emerge from homelessness. Thank you.
Before we reach out to the Zoom, anyone in the room of the hallway have comments that hasn't been mentioned?
I'll say one thing. I just want to remind everyone when it was a big issue about the old city hall, old town hall, when they came in, just two little small tents in between the stairs. It was a big problem. Hit the news, and you guys found housing for those few people. I think it was 6 to 8 people that was quoted by both Lifebridge and the police. But here we are, about a year and 2 months later. What do we have now? 18 to 20, getting bigger and bigger. What you guys are putting forward right now is not going to resolve anything. It's going to make it worse. What's going to happen is more people are going to find out that there's housing or more beds here in Salem. They're going to come. There's going to be even more people that aren't going to be accepted, and then there's going to be more encampments. It's not going to resolve anything. It didn't resolve anything with the old town hall. You can't criminalize people for being in public, on public property. My argument, I know it's already Supreme Court ruling, even if they have an option for housing, it's still public. If you guys don't like the eyesore, you can't ship them off 15 miles away. Imagine being 15 miles away from you guys' own property. It's not, it's just not even logical thinking to do that. So just remember, you guys already thought you resolved the problem last year, got the eyesore out of downtown. Now it just moved across over to South Road. So just keep that in mind. It didn't fix it last time. It's not going to fix it this time. You guys just need to, don't criminalize the homelessness. Don't criminalize people being out in public. Even Chief Miller said that the days of move it along are done. That's false, because even after he said that, when we had the meeting down on Bridge Street last year, I've reported many people being told to move along because they were eating on Essex Street, told to move along just for being in public. And I've had to stand there and say, no, this is wrong. But the people still move along because they don't want to be criminalized for what they're doing. So therefore, their rights are being violated by the city, by the police. But they don't have a voice. They don't feel like they can't have a voice, because what will happen is they'll be in handcuffs for disorderly, for trespassing, for loitering, which is a very, very strict legal meanings to all these. And a lot of these disorderly conducts that are charged by the city do get dismissed in court. That's absolute. So that's another waste of resources. So let's not waste the resources and put those resources to somewhere where it actually matters and it's going to make a change. Thank you.
My name is Skylar Ward, on Forest Avenue, on Solidarity Rising. We need to address the root cause of what is problems by failures. We as a society have a creative solution to address the cause of problems, or cause to perceived problems. And sadly, I don't think this ordinance addresses the root cause of these issues. We're not taking a holistic approach to what we perceive as problems within our society, and creating ordinances to punish people or to take them off whatever property that they might have, or to fine them when they do not have money, or to criminalize them when that affects the rest of their lives. Because you have a rap sheet, it's easy to get a job, get housing. It's not, makes it nearly impossible. A lot of people are not really wanting to work, not wanting to go into the shelter. And they have their own reasons, and we need to respect those reasons as well. But we can also, as a society, show up with these individuals and provide them with all the services that they need to have equity within our society. And as members of society, we are able to make that decision to help our fellow people in our society instead of leaving behind. And I think the more holistic approach is necessary. Thank you.
Anyone else in this space? Okay, let's see if I can figure this out. Thank you, Councilor Varela. Don't have that many people in the audience, so let's see what we can do. We have SR. You are now allowed to speak. SR. You just have to unmute yourself. Okay, we'll come back to you. There's someone online named Kat. Kat, you are now allowed to speak. You want to unmute yourself?
There you are for joining. Thank you guys. I see your comments.
Business and personal property. I have two.
Kat, if you don't, please. Kat, I'm sorry. We couldn't hear you. My mistake. You want to start over?
This is Catherine Cypher. I'm a homeowner and a business owner and employee in Salem. I'm not a member of the Chamber of Commerce. So specifically because that sort of state does not represent. And I hope it doesn't represent Salem either. We moved here hoping that it represented the better things in humanity, and othering anyone, especially the homeless, is othering anyone. I'm a trans person, I'm queer. Lots of communities would other me, hopefully not in Salem, but I feel this is a slippery slope as soon as we start othering others, especially as summer is coming along, as it's no coincidence that this ordinance is being raised at this time, that we will be responsible in accommodating these people in our community and show the rest of the world that we are deserving of the excellent reputation Salem has and are not going to start othering others.
Thank you, Kat. Now we have Kimberly. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello. Hi, can you hear me? Cool.
I can hear you.
Hello.
Yes, Emily, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Emily. I'm a Salem student. I just wanted to briefly say that as someone who works in the mental health field, it seems pretty counterproductive to focus on moving people from their homes and causing more emotional and psychological pain. And I also just want to point out to the ordinance, it says that basically to create distance in large crowds to congregate. And to me, that it just sounds like we want to provide better scenery for tourists to people come into Salem rather than providing services for the people that are already there. That's all I have.
Thank you, Emily. Now there is Gabriel Ab. You can let us speak.
Hi, this is Gabrielle. I'm a downtown Salem resident. I just wanted to say, I agree with a lot of what everyone's been saying about the needed increased resources for the homeless in Salem and building more houses. I think everyone here agrees there's a lot of things that we need to do to solve this problem. It's a very complex issue. But I think we also need to be honest with ourselves. If you look at that pen cannon, I just don't see how anyone would feel it's best for any of those people to be living there. It is extremely unsanitary, unsafe, and I don't see how it's in their best interest to allow those people to continue living in those conditions. I understand, as everyone has been pointing out, that there is a lot of aspects to this problem, and the city needs to continue to work on those. But I don't think going against this ordinance is going to help this people. Thank you.
If anyone out in Zoom wants to make comments, please raise your hand. Okay, Thank you everyone for your public comment. We're gonna, revisit the council. And I'd like to make a couple of comments myself before I hand it off to my colleague. One, I do apologize to the person that I was rolling my eyes. I know these are just words, but that was my intent. I really rolled my eyes at most of the people spoke. And, you know, my cat. So, I've been privileged my whole life that I've never been at risk of being homeless or really other social ills that other people endure in our society. I just tell the story, back in the 80s and 90s, I served on the board of Shortstop, which was a shelter for homeless children. And anytime I mentioned that I did that, people were in disbelief that we had 13,000 homeless children in Massachusetts. And regularly, the state would bus people to YMCA's for the kids to sleep in the gym in the middle of the night when they get used to lie. We're working toward one of my colleagues, a lot of cameras and how to take photographs and had artists did it. My task was to help kids fill out applications, coach them, and sometimes accompany them on their job. And so I was in the facility quite a bit with 14 beds, and every time I went there, I knew how many new kids were there, like how many garbage bags in the house. And one day I was asked to meet with a kid, he was 8 years old, and when he walked home from school, there was no one home, and he was deserted. And 8 years that I served, there were a lot of people who were deserted. And I just think that this one person that I just want to have something. I remember buying some Converse All-Stars, and that didn't help that much. Either I think I took them out for Big Macs and French fries every time I saw them. And I thought that the only thing that really got me through it, because it wasn't me, was the shelter. And, you know, coming to a point in his life that maybe 10 years old where you realize that he can trust me. So I, you know, I have a lot of friends in this room, and I feel like, you know, some people feel that I'm accessible to listen about anything, and we think, you know, a common thread by most everyone who's spoken to is that this is a problem that is really something that we need to fix to make sure that we as a society end up. So I'm proud of, you know, some of the work by people in the city and in Lethbridge and people who are advocating for people who don't have a space that they feel safe and comfortable. And so, you know, I've learned a lot tonight. I'm just going to say that. I feel that, you know, this is as much about intention as anything. And so I just been really focused on shelter. I'm a proponent of the housing first, you know, concept, and because there's no way that people, you know, who do work, and most of the people who are unhoused work, can afford, you know, even people who are housed are being displaced for that demographic. And so, yes, you know, someone made a comment that there's a lot that we can do as a community that we're either not doing, we can't do, and just, you know, people who know we're waiting for the legislature to actually deliberate on the first and the approval for third degree. And I'm just personally not someone who has all the answers, and I'm hoping that we can get to a better place. But I just want to say, you know, my feeling that mandating shelter is just something that's, and and I'm not minimizing anything that, you know, adult homeless or unhoused people go through. I just spend too much time seeing children who are really defenseless, and, you know, they can't control their destiny in so many ways. So with that, I'm going to leave it back to the council, whether people have more comments or make motions or whatever. And we'll just look around. It looks like Councilor Davis. Ready.
Thank you, Chair Coe. Not being a member of the committee, if I was a member of the committee, I would make a motion to give this ordinance a negative recommendation. I think that this ordinance to go through does not need, the problem here isn't that we need to make certain edits to this ordinance in order to get to the place where it can be passed. There are fundamental problems with this ordinance. Forced removal and arrests of people in crisis is not the solution to the homelessness crisis. It is not part of the solution. And there is something that I'm really struggling with when it comes to what's embedded in this ordinance. I think is an idea that unhoused people do not have autonomy or do not deserve autonomy, and that they don't have the ability to make informed decisions about what's best for them based on the very legitimate reasons that they might have, some of which we heard today. There is a paternalistic mentality at play here, where we are saying that because we believe that shelter is a better solution for people, that we should then force people into that solution. And I think there is a level of dehumanization and stripping away of agency in that, that I just can't support.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if anybody's ever seen a person with a frostbite foot. I worked for the Salem Police Department for 33 years, and I dealt every day with the homeless population. In day-to-day, we would have to come in, and as I was booking them, and they're taking their clothing off, their shoes, they would have frostbite toes. I don't know if anybody's seen that, and it's not a pretty sight. So to see somebody that, and it's still homeless, we were with them every day, daily. I would see them, sometimes I would see them more than I see my own family. And to have somebody stay out in the elements like that is not humane. And we're trying to do something good here in the council to get these people into shelter. I don't know if anybody's ever camped with their family on the weekends in the rain. Well, it's horrible. It's terrible. So we're trying to do something good for these people to get them shelter. So I think we should make a motion, as Councilor Merkel said, to take out the language under purpose in section 2. And then I think we should bring this to a vote. Thank you.
Before you, I hand it up to you, Councilman, so I don't know if we were wanting to delete the whole section 2. I'm going to show this to Councilor, I mean, section 2 of the purpose, but it seems like there's a phrase.
I'll offer this and see if it's appropriate for you for your amendment. I was going to propose that we remove the words after campsites that say that shield drug trafficking, human trafficking, weapons, fire hazards, violence, and other criminal activity, and that create conditions for large crowds to congregate. To strike that and to replace it with simply that may create public health concerns. So the cool thing would say, the ordinance seeks to improve access to housing and recovery services by restoring access to public spaces, the public right of way, and curtailing the existence of campsites that may create public health concerns.
Is there a second on that? Councilman Sullivan.
Point of clarification, Chair. Are you remembering me? I couldn't remember. I wasn't sure if someone else had made it. Sorry, I should know. All the things myself.
So, is there a second on that? amendment to that?
Chair, if I may, I'll second the motion, but I'd also, just like to comment that I don't think that we're into wordsmithing here. I feel, I think that as Councilor and Public Safety and Environment Committee, I'd like to motion that we, keep this in committee so that, those of us who are here can make further, consideration of the comments for tonight. Review the ordinance, perhaps ask Beth questions on one-on-one, perhaps make suggested language. I made a number of suggestions tonight that I'd like to see the legal team come back with, at a minimum before making any further decision, one way or the other, to return to committee this week. I think it's too fast. I think that I personally need a lot more time and deliberation, homework, research, more conversation, and I would like to see this stay here for the interim. Thank you.
Can I make a suggestion? So, it seems like just regarding the language, there's a couple of places that we could just make some immediate changes and then you can consider your motion after that. That makes sense to you?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I think another one was the mileage.
Well, again, I think the mileage takes a little bit further research and consideration around what is available. One of the points I made tonight was a full assessment of the actual places in the 50-mile radius, what those number of beds are, what those regulations are. We can't make that change tonight.
Yeah. We have a motion, we seconded,
For the single amendment.
just single amendment on
Yeah.
purpose, paragraph 2. Is there any more discussion? Okay, so for people in the audience, the 5 members of the committee, which is Councilor Johnson, President Steve, Well, Marcelo, and myself to vote, and so all in favor of that? And now I'm going to consider your motion to keep it in committee.
Thank you.
Is there a second or discussion? Mr. President?
Under discussion chair, I know we have a lot of people in the world that are interested in exactly what this body plans to do and why we're doing what we're doing. And I've been taking copious notes. I'm sure everybody's seeing it in my hand, it's right over here. There are several terms that have been repeated. I think are maybe exaggerated. And I think one of the biggest ones is criminalization. Nobody is looking to label anybody homeless as criminals. I think that is absolutely the last thing that the police department, and I'm saying this because I retired from the police department. I was actually the community impact for a few years and saw it for time. I can tell you that the people that work with the police department have one thing that they want to do, and that's help these individuals have a better quality of life. Period. They want to help these individuals get on their feet, be healthy, be safe, and have a roof over their head. And they are strung out by a lot of red tape on how to be able to do this. I'm for this ordinance because we're taking the first step. Does it need rewording? Yes, it may need a little bit of tweaking, but this is a huge first step to help those people to be able to live some kind of a life that gives them a safe place, a roof over their head, and services that hopefully the city will provide. Another part I hear is about the 15-mile range. And of course, that can, I heard earlier that we have 15 individuals, now 50 spaces for these people housed. So that's almost a moot point at this point, because we have enough housing so that nobody has to move out of this community. And you're calling what they have down there camp, a community, and it's probably one of the most healthiest places that anybody could. I cannot imagine being a parent and having my child living in a tent down there and saying, that's okay, that they're better there than they are anywhere else. I know that sometimes the words are tough to find, but what we're trying to do as a city is help people. And I think that if we let them live in an encampment, we're becoming slumlords. The city is becoming slumlords. We can't do that. That's unethical. We have to help these people. I think everybody here in the room is agreement that that's what we want to do. We want to help these people. But letting them stay down there in that environment, and the data has shown, their quality of life every day deteriorates. This is going to be a better day for them tomorrow, a better day, and tomorrow's going to be a better day than the day after. And I think it's our responsibility to help these people, help them in every way we can. And I think the mayor and the city services and the people who live in the shelters are genuine in their commitment to help these people live a better and healthy life. This is a first step, and I am for this one.
Thank you, Chair. I will second the motion to this committee, or to refer this out as. And I do want to say that this is probably one of the hardest discussions we've had on the council, and we've had one very close. Everyone on this council is listening to everyone in this room. We see you and we hear you. I want to make that very, very clear. This council has also done a lot to create housing in Salem. We have tried all sorts of different methods to create housing. I also have been to meetings about the expansion of LifeBridge it was hard to listen to the pushback on that. So people are here saying we need more shelter space, we need more transitional housing, we need all that. It's being offered and we're trying to get it done. We need spaces like this where people can speak openly and be heard by everyone and not be shouted down. That's one thing I have to say. We need opportunities like that to build more housing like that, very, very low income housing to get people into a safe space, into a safe house. But I want to underline the fact that this is very difficult, and I think we do need to do this in committee. We need to understand what the 15-mile radius or the 10-mile radius is all just pulling numbers out of the air at this point. And we need more information on what that means, how many sites it includes, instead of just changing them from 15 to 10. It doesn't. I mean, that means nothing to me as far as what that means for the homeless people. But, yes, we're trying to build housing. This is an area issue, which is why we need a larger radius, in my mind, to find homeless shelters, to find safe shelters for people that are out in these campsites. We can't solve all of this in our little city of Salem. We just can't. We don't have the tools, we don't have the money, we don't have anything that we need to solve all of this. But we need to keep pushing. We need to keep coming up with opportunities for mental health services, meeting these people where they are right now, finding them shelter today, but getting them out of an unsafe encampment. So that being said, I would,
Any more discussion? Maybe everyone. Council.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to echo some of the words that Councilor Marcelo just said, and I'd like to also add a couple of my own personal experiences without getting too down the line. I'll keep it to my experience as a counselor, in which I have interacted with at least a few of our unhoused neighbors. I have done a ton of research online on my own. Everywhere you look, there's some sort of counter story or counter position statement in journals of medicine and the like. Housing first, long term, does it work? Sometimes no. Like it's around we go. I don't think in this hard conversation we can come to a place where everybody is right. I don't think it's possible. I know firsthand from speaking to some of the people that have lived in encampments in Salem that, and reading in my research, that it is also difficult to break harmful behavior cycles, right? Which is like if you live in an encampment and you are stuck in a domestic violence relationship, it is much harder to leave. There are, and that is an issue that is extremely close to my heart. I just want everybody to know that what Councilor Marcelo says is true. We are listening. No matter how this lands in the long run, it is with great intent, of great care. So I appreciate the conversation tonight. Thanks.
Before the vote. Councilor Hepburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to appreciate everyone for the thoughtful conversation we've had here. Appreciate the city officials who came in. Everybody who gave testimony today. Really appreciate you all. It's great to see different faces, and we tend to see the same faces day after day. It's great to see different voices from different folks. So just appreciate you all. Thank you, Councilor Vaughn, for being great.
I'm gonna make a suggestion, since we have some of this stuff that, I'm gonna lean on our city solicitor for a little bit of guidance. I think, we all took notes, we all have ideas about what we could do, to get the language to the people. So, if we can all submit suggestions to the solicitor, are you the right place?
Yes.
Okay. And, so why don't people on the council, everyone, not just the committee, if you have ideas that you want to convey to that, please do it. And then, why don't you and I meet? And I'm just assuring everyone who's here and Zoom, still a lot of people in Zoom, that I will get to you, Councilor. That I will try to schedule a meeting as soon as possible. It will be public. I've met with a lot of people in the community and individually, and we'll give this another run. If that's okay with everyone. Councilor Merkel.
Thank you, Chair Cohen, now being a member of the committee, and I also appreciate all of the comments, everyone coming tonight, and the discussion that we've had. I wanted to make a request, since it makes the state committee, if we could get some kind of map which shows, I know numbers right now are arbitrary, but maybe what a 15-mile radius is, if it's from the center of Salem. When I tried to, when I was trying to look at this at home, I was like, is that 15 miles from the center or where somebody is? I was a little confused. again, maybe a comparison of, you know, Myron's people throw out 10 months. So if we could get some kind of mapping of, you know, 15 or 10 and a couple of different options and where that starts from and where it ends to get just a little bit better perspective.
The mayor just telepathically let me know that we will do that, and maybe we could do a couple of things. Yeah, it's really weird. I used to work in all 13 miles, and it took me 2 hours to get home, so I do appreciate people who, you know, and there's no public transportation to get to all, so I do understand some of that. But I think if we can convey as many of the things that people have heard or that we want personally with that, then definitely get together to try to come up with something. So we map it out and if possible, we'll try to get the same people in the room.
Thank you, Chair. Not only the map, though, it's also important to know what services are within that radius. So the map is not as important as the services.
I understand.
Thank you.
Okay, so anyone else from the council? Okay, the motion in front of the council is to keep it in committee. And this is one for people. All in favor? Unanimous. So we're gonna keep it in committee, everyone. And as I said at the beginning of the meeting, no ordinance is an ordinance unless it's considered at the full council. So, you know, this will be a place for us to talk about things and figure out whether it makes sense. We can move forward and do. I also want to express my appreciation for the department heads, life group, especially everyone in the public who came out. And I guess we'll be hanging out again. Thanks. I would like to entertain another motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Joe. Good, how are you? You look.
I'm all right.
All right, guys, I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna roll on my body cam though, so I'm gonna end this. Thank you all for joining. I appreciate it. Much love, respect, and appreciation.